Hey everybody, welcome to Hot Topics.
Welcome.
We are your lovely hosts, Rebeka,
I'm Rebecca.
Janelle. Yay! And we talk about human design stuff in a way that feels good to us, and we don't care if it's correct or not because we're just expressing ourselves, man, and we're not really trying to offend. So I feel like if you're not active, for the most part, most people, if you're not actually trying to offend someone, you probably won't. For most people, not
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird in the human design space because I feel like some people get really stuck on certain things and so they'll get upset.
Yeah. We
Oh, that
try
is
to be open-minded, man.
like it's an experiment. We're all in our experiment. We're all figuring stuff out. And we're both three lines. So like we might talk through something and like come to a new conclusion during the episode, or like a year later, we're like, oh no, we figured out that was wrong for
This
us.
third line stuff has really been jacking with me since I started to revamp my website. I was like trying to get prepared. And then I was like, you actually have to be in the middle of the messiness of doing it before you're doing it. So quit trying to like have the right photos and have the right words. And recently it's been trying to get like social media prepared because I know if I don't have some stuff made, I won't I'm not going to do it. I'll be like, oh, I don't feel like making this real. So I feel like I have to have some stuff done. And so I'm having like this push pull of like, okay, get the minimal amount of things you can get done to where you could just put it out and then talk about it because you need to be in it. And that's what I keep telling myself. Because as third lines, we need to be in it. And that means messiness. That means you don't know how it's going to go. And that means changing your mind and your course and your direction, which in the United States in particular, is not looked at as a very positive thing to change your mind or go back on something you said or even if you go, hey, I thought this, but now I think this, like sometimes people are like you can't change.
Right.
Flip-flopper.
Grow and evolve. I know, like, so my niece is an emotional nanny gen, and at the end of the school year this year, she's just finished 5th grade, and they were having a talent show. And so on the day of the talent show, or when they signed up, they're like, "Hey, we're doing this thing. You can sign up." My niece is like, "I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna sing this song. It's gonna be great. The kids are gonna love it." And then after a couple days, she's like, "Never mind. I don't want to do it anymore." And I was like, "Well, that makes sense."
No
Right?
shit. Like you were all hopped up on this energy, and now, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like Manny Jen, like Sacral got excited, and then Solar Plexus is like, "Hey man, do you think about this aspect?" And she figured out she wanted to do it. And then her mom, my sister-in-law, was like, "Oh, you're just chickening out like a little."
You have to do it. Are they making her do it?
Well, I haven't found out because the school year's ending now, so I haven't found out if she had to do it or not. But when her mom was like picking on her for changing her mind, I couldn't help it. And I was like, I think it's okay that she changed her mind. And my niece is like, she like does a little face to her mom, like, see?
That like hits me because I feel like I did that and my mom did that. Like you said you were gonna do it, you have to do it.
I did that to myself.
You liked this at the time, so you have to do it.
Yes.
A lot less now, a lot less, because that's part of the third line I feel like I can really grab onto is like changing my mind and allowing that to be okay. But man, growing up when you signed up for something for the school play or brownies or like just Girl Scouts, if you all don't know. Sports, like anything that you were like, oh, because I would do that. And I know it's because I have a lot of open centers, and I feel like a lot of times my open G center would be like, oh, all of these kids are excited. Like they look like this, they're excited about this thing. So I'm excited about this thing. And so you sign up or you're do whatever. And like we grew up in the old school mentality of you have to do what you say you're going to do. You said you're going to do this thing, you have to do it. You have to. Or what? You go back on your word, or you like all this other stuff, like you quit. That was my mom's thing. So you're gonna quit this thing? You can't be a quitter. Quit? No, I paid for this. You can't quit.
I know. That is a hard one as a parent, because I know, like, I did that with my kid for once. He played football one year, and I was like, look, I just like, I'm fine with it, but I need you to know that you've got to do this whole season. If at the end of the season you don't ever do it again, it's fine, but we're gonna finish
Oh
this season.
yeah, my parents were like that too. Like, is this really like, if you, soccer was easy, like we liked that, so we played that all the time. But like when I got a little bit older, like in high school, and I was doing theater and soccer, they were like, which one? My soccer coach actually made me pick one because
Oh,
I was good enough at soccer to be a varsity, but I liked theater, and so he was like, well, that's taking up too much of your time. You have to decide. And I picked theater. uh, but yeah, I remember my parents being, oh my God, it was piano. Oh my God. I just have this memory of my mom, like, because I have long fingers. And so she was like, she would always grab my hands. You have piano playing hands. We listened to piano in the car. And she would be like, you're going to be, she thought I was going to be like this amazing piano player. I was under 10. And she would take me to lessons. And at first I was like, okay, this is fun. And we had a piano at home. So I'd practice. I did little shows for my sister's friends. Like it was cute. But I'm a kid. So I got over it. I was like, okay, this is boring. Like I like soccer. I like this other stuff. And she wouldn't let me quit at first. She was like, no, you have to do this. Because she thought I would be good at this.
Mhm.
It kind of drives me bananas that I can't look at her chart for sure and know that because I don't know her time.
Oh
So I
yeah.
will go back and forth. And I've told you this before. The only thing that changes is defined G, undefined G.
Mhm.
So that's like where I have the question. So it's like, well, this isn't helping me know anything. Except that I'm pretty sure she was emotional, which totally makes sense. But yeah, it was super weird. I remember being like pissed off that that I had to go to piano practice. It's like, I don't want to do this. And eventually she let me stop, but
Yeah.
she didn't want me to because I'm like, what? Just because I have long fucking fingers, like I have to be that was her thing. Like I was left-handed, so I'm going to be good at softball. And then I'm going to become like this crazy pitcher. Like I'm funny, so maybe I'll be like, she always thought like we would have this one thing that would make us be like the star of that thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a star. I was like, I don't want to be a star.
I know you're like, I'm fine in the
I was a
background.
good speller. Oh my God, you're gonna write so many novels, Janelle. You're gonna be like this. Like, and it's cute that you have all these ideas and stuff as for your kids, but I remember that feeling very like pressure.
And that's a lot for a mental projector kiddo, right? Who just wants to be seen. Like you want to be seen for who you are. You want to be recognized and
Yeah.
really
Just
honored.
because I
And
like to read
and
doesn't mean like I need to. And that was another thing. I think, oh, I think this really messed with me is like as a kid, I thought that everything I liked had to become like a huge part of my life, like a career, or I always have to have this as a hobby. Like I couldn't, this stuff always had to be important to me because I liked doing it, I
Mhm.
guess. And it was really weird because I remember like she was like, you're such a big reader. And as I got older, it kind of fell off and she didn't like that. And she was like, why are you not reading as much? And I was like, I don't know. I like boys. Like, what do you want?
So much
And
projection.
like
Like,
15, right? She was very much, I was her first child and she had a real crappy childhood. So she was like determined to live some sort of life through me.
this is why it's all sounding familiar. Because you know what's weird is my mom used to say that about my hands too. She's like, your fingers are so long. You can play the piano, which I took lessons for 10 years. I was pretty good
For
at
10
it.
years? That's way
Yeah.
longer than I took lessons. Shit.
Yeah. No, I really liked it.
Well, I'm
And
glad you liked it.
yeah,
Didn't like it.
but it's just funny. Like, who tells their kid they have long fingers, you should play the piano?
Under
Of our
10,
moms. I
like
do.
a child, a legit
Yeah.
child, you're gonna be a professional pianist one day because of your hands. So please continue. Like that was one of the things I remember her being like legit disappointed and upset about was when I was like, I seriously am not gonna do this anymore.
Weird.
Like I'm not playing, I'm over it. I'm sure I said it in a much more kid way, but she was sad. Like she was like, Janelle, I just know your potential. And I was like, no, you don't. I don't like this. You just want a kid I think sometimes it had to do with the money too, because she would talk about like if we were these things, like how much money we would have and make and stuff,
Yeah.
which twisted up my whole idea of money even more, you know?
Mhm.
Um, well, shit, this isn't what we were going to talk about, but
That's okay. We're going with it now.
yeah, I mean, we can go, yeah, we'll talk about what we're going to talk about too, because this is a good one. Pivot, projector pivot. We are going to kind of talk about rest because Rebeka brought up a good point the other day of how we talk about rest as non-sacrals, and the whole world really, especially now, is bringing up rest as like a very important thing. I feel like I see it a lot more, not just in the human design world, but a lot of other like social media memes and all this other stuff is like rest is important. Rest, hustle culture is dead, like blah, blah, blah. This isn't hot girl summer, it's like sleep girl summer or something. I saw some dumb
Right.
one. Like, whoa. And it's all cool to say it, but as non-sacrals in particular, mental projectors, us two in particular, when you go about doing it, how does that go? Because it can be one of those things that's easy to say, but harder in practice.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it can be a piece of advice that is dispensed to the non-sacral. Well, rest. You're resting, rest more. That
Yeah.
one always gets me is when people go, well, rest more than you think you need to. Rest more than you think you should. Well, I don't know how much I should or think I need to rest. I don't, what? Like, I feel like it should just be, if you're going to give people advice on resting, it should be examples of how you rest. Very third line of me, don't want to do it that way. And also like, good job for whatever way you're resting. Good job, because just telling people to rest more doesn't really, okay.
Yeah. Well, and like, what does that really mean? And how is that different for us as mental projectors versus an energy projector versus a manifester?
Exactly.
There's all kinds of things to consider. And so that's why it's such a personal thing. You just got to figure out how it feels for you. But I know for me, it's always, it's weird because I'll lay down and like immediately I'll start to feel guilty, or or my mind will start going already, and it's like I'll get an idea and I'm like, oh, I should write that down before I forget, or I'll just look it up real quick before I forget, but then
Mm-hmm.
I end up on my phone and
Yeah.
that's not restful.
Yeah.
But when I take the time to truly rest, like if I just give myself a day, like I'm not going to think about business, I'm not going to do that, I'll just like watch a cheesy movie and do the
Mm-hmm.
minimum, then the next day I feel so good.
Yeah.
So but that only come because I remember like the first time I let myself do that, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a rest day, and it was so hard. I'm like, because I mean, single mom life, it's like there's a million things that always need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, we're gonna chill, we're gonna see what happens. And then the next day I felt so good. Like, and that was all it took was that one time. And then I saw how important it was for me. So
Yeah. 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 A whole rest day. I mean, I guess I do that, but I don't know if I don't know. See, that's the thing. It's when people talk about it, what is like, how does that go for you? Like if I were to pull, like if I said, okay, I'm gonna have a rest day, did you do laundry? Did you clean anything?
trying to remember,
What
like
did you
sometimes
do?
sometimes I will, because I usually do laundry on Sundays, and it's usually the
Uh-huh.
Sunday where I'm like, I'm just
Yeah.
done.
Because to
So
me, that constitutes, like we were talking about, like active rest or something like that, where,
well, if I'm like doing laundry, like I put it in the wash and then I'd watch a movie until I need to go put it
yeah,
in the
that's what
dryer.
yeah,
Then I
stuff
watch
like
a
that.
movie. It's like,
Okay. I think a lot of times people think similar to meditation that you have to be in a particular position and you have to do it a particular way for it to count. But rest can be, like you said, throwing in a load of laundry and going and like watching your show for an hour, sitting outside and listening to the birds, or like lying on the floor.
yeah,
The concept of lying down in the middle of the day
That
is
was hard for
not,
me at first
is
too.
until how long have you been doing it? Because I've been doing it for about 5 minutes. And I still don't, it
Well,
confuses me.
a couple years ago, well, and then so this is another thing, like maybe there's just different systems, right? So when I first started working from home and I could have my own schedule, I like every day at like 2 o'clock, I was just like everything would shut down. I just couldn't think. And so I'd set a timer, I'd go lay down and just close my eyes for 10 minutes. If I fell asleep, great. If not, no big deal, but I would just lay down, set my timer for 10 minutes. And that's all I needed. I woke up from that, drink a glass of water, and I was great for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So that I needed that consistently for a while, but now it's pretty sporadic. I don't feel the need to take a
Man.
nap every day.
I know it's so you're right. Like when I do lie down for like 10 minutes and then get back up, I do feel a lot better. Like I used to think it was just gonna screw me up and I wouldn't be able to be productive for the rest of the day. Um, I also would think that I would accidentally fall asleep, and then I realized that that's pretty much impossible. Like
Mhm.
I'm this is all moving around and I'm thinking about stuff and dogs and like I can like the concepts of just laying down and closing your eyes, like resting your eyes. It was never, I never really, Sean does it a lot and it always confused me. Like he'll go and lay down for like 15 minutes with the door to the bedroom open so he can hear anything I'm doing. And he just lays there with his eyes closed. And I was like, what? I was like, are you sleeping? He's like, no, I'm just resting my eyes.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's funny because my
okay.
kid's dad, who's also a 2/4 gender that we talked about, he would do that too. He would lay down, or it was the weirdest thing. Like he'd lay down for a nap, he'd be asleep, but he would wake up at the exact moment I needed him to wake up because we were about to go somewhere or do
Yeah.
something. I'm like, how do you do that? It's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great at it. And it's just like you said, it is different systems for sure, because a lot of times my rest is sitting, or I guess walking isn't rest. Is walking rest? I don't think it is.
I feel like it's kind of mental rest for us because if we're just walking, then our mind can just
Oh, I
flow.
like that.
We can enjoy the scenery or whatever it is.
That's what I do. That's what
Yeah,
I do. I'm very much like, oh, I'm looking at leaves and colors and I'm feeling the wind and where's the sun and the clouds. And I heard that bird. And then there's another bird. That one sounds different. And like, Sean makes fun of me, but I get very, not in a mean way, in a very funny way. Cause I do get like, um, in
that just
fact, I think I told him about my gate 58 and we were out doing something and we were walking around and he's like, is this your gate 37? Or just said like a weird ass number. And I was like, what? And he goes, he's like, you just keep talking about the birds and the plants and everything. He's like, he's like a little kid. And I was like, yes, this is my gate 58. Because that's very much what it feels like when that kind of shit's going on, or like my motivation innocence. But
yes.
if I said that to him, he'd be like, what are you doing?
I like that he at least remembered that, right? Like he got
Yeah.
wrong, but he was trying.
Because I told him, I was like, babe, I do this for a reason. Like, this is my part of my love for life. Like 58 and motivation innocence, I feel like are like chow, like they go together.
They're a good pair.
Yeah. So I get real excited. I'm just like, oh my God, bird tree, look. And like we go camping, I just am like all over the place. But I love that you called that like mental rest, because it does very much feel like my undefined crown is opening up and like things are moving around. It feels like pressure is being released, but also space is being created. Like
Yeah,
it's not so much, I don't feel pressure up here as much as I feel space and no space. And
that
when
makes
I'm
sense.
outside, I almost always feel spacious up here.
Yeah.
And inside it goes either way, depending on where I am, or what's going on, obviously, in here. But root, I feel pressure. This is like it's open or closed.
I get that.
Interesting. Yeah. But I like the idea of that, because I guess it isn't rest, but it's hard for me to sit still. I have a really hard time.
Yeah, with your open route, like it's
Yeah.
a super open route. So
I make jokes with Sean, and I don't know if I should make jokes, because I know ADHD is a real thing, and I haven't been officially diagnosed, and I'm not a doctor, but he makes, like, again, this is something he notices, like when we're watching TV or doing something sitting down, I'm always like every 5 or 10 minutes I'm up doing something. And he's like, do you do this when I'm not here? And I said, oh, it's so much worse when you're not here. I'll just be in the kitchen for like 2 hours, or around the apartment for like 2 hours cleaning and doing things, and a show will be on, and I'll be like, oh, that was funny, and oh, cool, I'm over here now. Like, I have a really hard time sitting. I mean, you can tell.
Mhm.
Like, so I don't know. I wonder if I do have some sort of something, because I can't sit still. I don't watch movies. I don't know the last time I watched a movie.
It's so funny because I used to do that too. Like I could not sit through a whole movie at all. But now I feel like especially lately, like I've been sitting and just chilling for so much longer than I ever have in my past. So I don't know what energy shift happened, but
I have to make myself do that better, because not better, but not make. Okay, I rephrase. I have to experiment with that more, because I do it better when I'm outside. Now that the weather is better, if I can sit outside, because I hear the birds, I see. But if I'm inside and there's nothing happening, I think I need like
some kind of
I don't know. Like when I meditate, it's guided, like someone's talking and music. I like background music and talking.
Yes.
So that's very interesting to me, that I have a hard time with like real quietness and finding that like restful, because my mind just, if it's all quiet, then this just starts going, hey, pay attention to us. But if I have something to listen to, like a guided meditation, I can really practice and train myself to listen to what they're saying. I still get pulled away, but like if I try to meditate with nothing, I don't know how that would go.
Yeah.
It would be hard, because I can't. And that's the other thing that like I wanted to make sure we addressed, is like rest is going to look a ton of different ways. And if you tried it and it didn't work out for you, maybe someone came in and interrupted you, or you got up from your bed and went and did your thing or whatever like that. Like if it didn't work out, you didn't fail at attempting to take care of yourself and rest. You tried it, and you're just going to try it again. And like, it's not like you're incapable of taking care of yourself in that way, or that you actually have that much to do in your life. I know everybody has a myriad of things to do, but you can always take 5 minutes to rest. I should probably tell myself that, because like I said, I think a lot of times that I'm resting, but really I'm sitting with my phone and my iPad and my planner and this human design book over here. And it's like, that's like the opposite of resting. I try to like make myself multitask, because I feel like I'm sitting down. So I have to make like this productive rest. And to be productive, I have to do 10 things at once from this seat.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that too.
And we were talking about the phone before it came on. And I told you my friend got like phone jail, and I think that that's a good idea. It scares me, but
It scares me too, but I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I think this is gonna happen.
I'm like, Sean, if we did it, because I told them, I'm like, if we did it, we'd have to get one big enough for my iPad, because I'll just go look at everything on my iPad. I don't care. Like,
okay, phone's locked up, iPad it is.
Yeah. And we talked about this, like when people talk about hiding their Instagram app on their phone, or like moving stuff around. Okay, I know how my phone works. If I have to swipe 12 times to get to Instagram, I'll do it. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. He actually turned on the phone time thing, like how much you use your phone. I don't even remember what it's called. Usage notifications or whatever, because I didn't have that on. And now it pops up and is like, hey, every week you spent, 80 hours on your phone, or however much long. It's not that long. I'm not that bad, but I'm not great.
Yeah. I know it'll pop up. It's like usage of 5 hours a day on average or something. And I'm like, but I do listen to a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff on my phone.
And that's what Sean reminded me too. He's like, use it for work, you like listen to like you do this kind of stuff. And he's like, he's like, this is what he told me. He goes, when that stuff pops up, if you really want to be held accountable, he's like, look at your Instagram time. I was like, I don't want to do that.
You're like, no, thank you.
So that's gonna be a lot of it.
I'm gonna live in ignorance.
He's like, you can just look at the individual Instagram time. I'm like, good to know. I'm never looking at that ever. But it does help for me to put my phone in the other room a lot of the times. I even told you, I haven't done this in a while, but I got myself a coloring book to like, because sometimes we would be watching a show and I would have my phone and show phone. And I started to feel like sick because I get really bad motion sickness. And so I think the focusing was messing around with me. And I took a deep dive into this one day, looked at like scroll induced motion sickness, which is like a real thing because so many people are on their phones now, and the scrolling motion specifically like screws with the way your eyes are tracking and can just make you sick. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm totally making myself sick scrolling on my phone, looking at the show, this. So I got a coloring book so that I could watch TV and color, because I was like, well, this is easier to do two things at once. Yeah. You know,
and then your brain's actually chilling out.
And Sean was like, why don't you try just watching the show? And I go, I've tried that. I'll just get up and I'll start like doing something else. So
like, that's not going to work.
I like have to keep myself occupied. And I know it's conditioning of the technological world and all the advancements that we have now that we can do 12 things at once and have instant gratification of all of our questions and all that kind of stuff. And I know I could probably work on like deconditioning myself from that a little bit. One thing at a time, things like that, which is so crazy that that's my determination is alternating.
Yes.
Appetite.
Well, you're alternating between the phone and the TV.
Simultaneous alternation, like, hello, it's a thing. So,
okay. Speaking of like ADHD and randomness, look at my disco ball lighting up my corner.
I know, it looks really good. It does. I was going to say, hey,
like, return
it did look like that a second ago. Ooh. That's really cute. I like that. I like that spices up your life in your corner.
It does, yeah. Well, the sun's hitting it just right. And then I have crystals in my window too, so sometimes it'll be this.
Oh, you made it all cute. Yay. I love it. I love it. That reminds me of the post by Vanessa Henry lately about like your environment and stuff. We'll have to do a good environment episode because I'm kind of all about that over here.
That would be fun. Just to unpack how we experience ours. I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, rest is important, but think about what happens when you go to rest. You say it's rest time. Like, what does your body do? What does your mind do? What is your unconscious behavior? For me, it is try to busy myself with as many things as possible so I can avoid whatever rest I was talking about. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I'll say I'll go do my work outside, and that feels restful to me because I'm outside, but I'm also still working. And when I do that, I make a point to take all my work stuff and put it away while I'm still outside and then sit there for a little while without it. So I probably wouldn't have done that otherwise. So it's probably good for me to take my work and stuff out there, but rest can look however you want it to look. And if you're watching like a trashy TV show and that's feeling very restful to you, cool, then that feels great. Because sometimes you need to like decompress, especially if you've been around a lot of people.
Yes. And that's one of my favorite things. Or like a cheesy movie I watched last week. I was like feeling overwhelmed, so I watched Bill and Ted, but like the updated one, the most recent one. I don't know if you knew they had one. They just made it a couple of years ago. I can't remember. Anyway, it was great. It was like
the first one is my best friend's favorite movie of all time.
Oh my gosh,
original so Bill and Ted's.
Vintage.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's so
cheesy. Bad with movies.
So cheesy. It's amazing.
I'm also very like comfort show oriented, which also makes me think I have like some sort of neuro something.
Oh my gosh. The amount of times
Because,
I've watched Gilmore Girls is insane.
but mine is like crime shows, like Law and Order, Criminal Minds.
How is that a comfort show?
That's what Sean says. Sean can't watch those shows with me. He's like, I won't watch that stuff with you. He's like, I don't like it. And I'm like, really? I think it's comfortable because I've seen it. Oh, I've seen it so many times. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But those are the types of shows I'm drawn to. Right now I'm watching Covert Affairs, which is a show from like the early 2000s with Piper Perabo. She's a CIA agent, but they're so hard to believe. That's the thing, is it's not just the genre, it's the time. Like current ones, no, not really. Old shit, yes, please give me all that stuff, because it's so implausible. And to watch like the action, and I tried to watch Charmed fairly recently, and that one's real old. I don't even know if I can do that one.
Yeah.
It's like mid 90s, I think.
It started in the late, maybe like 97. So yeah.
Yeah, it's real hard, because I was like, wow, it's not just the acting that's bad, but like technology has gotten better, like all the stuff has gotten better. So you're like, oh, this is rough. But yeah, it's just, I think because it's so fantastical to me, I'm like, this would never happen this way. She's a CIA agent. This, just because she dyes her hair, people don't know who she is. Like, it was so confusing. It's like, it's almost comforting in that way, that it could not go this way in real life. Like, it wouldn't work. It's fun. It's totally make believe. And I think that's why I'm very much like, because I know that would never really happen. But Sean, SVU is like his least favorite show. If he comes in the house, I have to turn it off. He doesn't like to hear their voices or what they're talking about. He's like, Janelle, you know what they're talking about on that show, what happens on that show. It's all about sexual assault, and I can't believe you could just watch that. And I was like, I know, but it's incredibly popular, and it's been on for 25 years. So it's not just me that likes it, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the majority of the viewers are women. So I don't know what to tell you.
My gosh, the whole thing where a bunch of women are really into true crime podcast and everything right now. Like, I have a couple of my good friends who love it, and I cannot handle it at all. I do not want to have.
They made a TV show called Based on a True Story about a woman who's obsessed with true crime podcasts and tries to create her own. And inevitably, I think she kills somebody. I don't know, something happens. But it's very, I popped up on my thing. I'm like, ugh. Yeah, I can't do those either. I think because it's the first word in the title is true. And I'm like,
right.
Good. I want fake crime podcasts.
No. But have you seen Only Murders in the Building? It's on Hulu.
No.
Okay, that one is really good. But
New stuff is hard for me.
Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short are the three main actors, and they're amazing. And so they're like into true crime, but then a crime happens in their apartment building, so then they try to figure it out and make their own podcast about it. And it's really good. But it's Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez.
Steve Martin went to my high school.
Really? Cool.
I know. He graduated like 4 or 5 years after my stepdad. My stepdad went to my high school too. Garden Grove, California.
Nice.
That's the biggest claim to fame that they have. It's a good one though. It's a good one.
Yep. I would take that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Comfort stuff like that it's all. I think it's maybe it's Gate 5, but I've always been like this. Like, these are the shows I've always watched. Like, since I started to like get into shows, is these types of shows. And like you said, I'll go back. I've watched Law and Order SVU so many times. Like, when I first moved here, I didn't have cable, but I had my Sex and the City DVDs. And I can, like, if it's on, like if it's on the TV, or if for some reason someone quotes it or whatever, if someone puts a Sex and the City meme on, I know all the words after that part. I'm like, oh, if this is the whole scene, here it goes. I've seen it so many times. I can't watch it now. I can't. And I can't watch the new one. I was like, I kind of got excited about it. And I'm like, oh, the new one, cool. And I can't like bring myself. I think I watched the first episode. Isn't that the one where Big dies?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
first one I
and
watched, and I
it's
think I was like, oh, okay, I'm good.
yeah, he's like dying and Carrie's like, no.
It was awful, but also that's the other reason why I like that show, was because it was such a time period.
It
Like, you
was.
can't, and I know some of the episodes and some of the things that people say about it, it's not very PC. You're right, it probably wasn't, but I rather enjoyed it. And I love the clothes. I was so into like the style. I hated Miranda's style so much. It was awful. It was like, I don't know what they were trying to do with her, but I couldn't, anything she wore, I was like, this is awful. But
I never
everybody else,
they styled her or her hair. Like, I don't feel like they did her any favors.
no, no. But all the rest of them, I love their outfits because they were so like their character, even though they weren't my style. I was like, oh my God, this is so cute for Charlotte.
Yes.
But yeah, that was a big, I feel like I get really into like time period of the like the shows that really show off their age. I'm like, yes, I love
And I
this
love that.
2005 show.
Yes. Well, and even like the Sex and the City or Friends, like the ones that start kind of in
Can't
the
go
late
back that
90s,
far to
but
Friends, but
then but I love it because they have the transition of like pre-internet cell phone, and then you can see when they get their first cell phone or like they send their first email or
mhm.
that just, I love it so much. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah, and Sex and the City, when she was using like AOL, I was like, oh God, it's your messenger. I use this. Like, yeah, when it was like the beginning days of internet and people didn't use it for very many things, and then it was
Yeah.
they would show it on TV, or like her flip phone. It's like, oh,
Yeah, the flip phone. I miss
flippy
that. You could
phones.
just like snapping that phone closed was so satisfying.
You can still get them, I think, but I don't know if it'd be as fun.
Yeah. I don't, can you just snap it like that? It's a screen now. You can't
Well,
just,
you can have like an old phone, like without a screen. You can
I wish I
still
would have
get
kept my
like
razor, my
snappy
hot pink
phones.
razor.
Mine was was that the foldy one? Mine was the Nokia. The first one was the Nokia, the school, the like
Yeah.
rectangle.
Yep.
That was just like this. What was this? It's a rectangle. I had a couple flippy phones, but I don't think I had a fancy one. I think I had like off brand, like Samsung or whatever. Like I had off brand ones. But yeah, so rest how you're going to rest and get real with yourself about what resting really is and what you have the capacity to do at the time. And put your phone away. And I'm going to tell myself that too. And I think I'm going to put it somewhere. I hide it, like I told you this, I hide it in my apartment. And then I can go a little while without realizing where it's at, usually, especially if Sean's here, because he's very entertaining to me. And then I'm like, oh my God, I haven't looked at my phone for a couple hours. Like, how did that happen? But then I'm like, where is it? What if someone needs me? And that's the thing. Like, that was the thing for me originally, was like, well, what if somebody messages me and offers me like my dream career, or says, hey, here's $1 million, or I'm a huge celebrity and I love to talk about human design with you on my podcast that billions of people listen to. Like, what if that happens? I have to know immediately. Because I have my phone on silent overnight. So if like anybody calls, like if someone gets hurt or something bad happens, I'm sleeping. But during the day, it's like, I must know constantly what's going on. And so I have to remind myself, like, it's okay to not know what's happening, like in the moment in the world. Like, it's be in your moment. Like, you don't need to know everybody else's moment. Like, be in this moment.
I turned notifications off for a bunch of stuff on my phone.
Oh, I've never had them on because I have them on for texts because like I said, if Sean's at a wedding, I want to, if something happens or whatever, but
my kids, but like Instagram, Facebook, like nothing.
Oh, I have never had that on. That would drive me, oh my God, I'd be so much worse if I had that on. It's like a fun surprise. It's like, ooh, did anybody message me? Nope. Any little red dots or numbers? Okay.
Why is it so fun? It's like, oh.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. And then I think about celebrities. I'm like, oh my God, they just must constantly have stuff happening, and that seems worse. So then I get okay with the fact that nobody knows who I am. But
Yeah.
I'm just a regular Joe or
It'd
Jane
be
or
a
Jill
lot.
or Jack. Huh?
It'd be a lot to keep up with for sure.
I would have to hire that's the first, that's the thing is like if I ever had a business that felt like it was getting out of hand, I think I would immediately hire some sort of social media somebody. Because that's where I know I would be like, I can't do this. Like it would just, I can do all, I think I can at least handle for the most part other stuff, but that's the one I'd be like, you do it.
Mhm.
But now I'm like, first of all, I'm poor. And second of all, I'm scared it would look inauthentic because I don't really have like I'm working on my point of view, as you know.
Yeah.
It's shifting and changing. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about rest?
I don't think so.
Be nice to yourself, people, about resting, or if you can't rest, or if something happened that messed it up for you, or if you rested but you don't feel rested, it doesn't mean you messed it up. It probably means you should be resting more.
Or you should put your phone down and actually just close your eyes.
Yeah, how exactly? When you rest, what does it look like? What are you doing? Are you not doing anything? Hooray, good for you. It's very hard. For me, this just goes and I'm very distracted by shiny things, and it's just So if you can do it without anything, bells or whistles, cold turkey resting, congratulations. You're ahead of the pack. And now I feel like it's about resting when you don't think you need it and resting for longer than you ever have before. Go for like a rest record. That sounds fun. And for the rest of us, we're just going to work on putting our phones down, turning the TV off, maybe stopping listening to your podcast. Because, like, not you in particular, but maybe that's somebody's like, oh, shit, now I have to do meditations without my, God damn it. Because I'm saying this, I feel like I have to do meditations without my
I think
guidedness, because I'm telling other people to turn their stuff off. So now I have to turn my
well, let's think about this though. What's your determination? What's your cognition? Why are you using that thing? Are you using that thing as a crutch, or are you using it because it's actually making you more effective? So no, like,
okay. Thank you. Fixing that for me. Because I was like, crap, if I tell them they can't listen to their podcasts and that's like the thing they do that helps them, then I have to do silent meditations.
yeah, because if somebody's a high sound determination, then it probably helps them to have something on.
Yeah.
If somebody's low sound, the 6124 kind of needs silence. So sure, like you probably need to turn something off and experiment with that.
Mm-hmm. I do have silent. I like to drive to work in my car without anything on. And that's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't put on music or podcast or anything. I drive. But I've always been kind of a silent driver. After I got past a certain age, of course, when I first learned to drive, I was like, burp. But after a while, I don't know why, I just don't like to listen to anything. Weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I don't, and also as projectors, a lot of times we give advice that we don't take. So this is how it goes. If we took all of our advice, we wouldn't be able to be humans.
Well, I'm not meant to take all the advice that I give because it's not for me, it's for them.
Yeah. So maybe if you are listening to things or distracting yourself with things while you're resting, as Rebeka said, look at the reasons why you have that stuff and maybe experiment with not having it. And maybe I will experiment with not. I think if I meditated outside, I could do it because there's like birdie sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
That will help me. Or maybe I should just try at first to do it to music without words.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, so thanks for listening to us talk about rest. And if you have any comments, let us know what are restful things to you. maybe we said something that you're like, oh, if I just stop doing that, it'll be way more restful. So thanks, guys. So let us know how you feel. If you have any questions or if you have any ideas for future podcasts, we want to hear it all.
Let us know.
So thanks, everybody.
Thanks.